in Washington. All right, with us now, we'll see, Jessica Tarloff. We got GOP strategist Joseph Pinion and Fox Nation's Kat Timpf. Kat, obviously the pressure's on Biden going into this to be at least a little sharper than he was the last go-round.
Won't be hard to do. Yeah, won't be hard for him to be a little sharper than he was the last go-round.
We'll see.
It was pretty bad. And look, I think that whoever comes out of this, the nominee, is going to have a lot more difficulty because of the way the Democrats are attacking each other so much. People say, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, but that's not true in Pokemon, and it's not true in politics. It's not true.
But, you know, the Republicans were bashing themselves in the 2016 race, and Donald Trump emerged from that and won. Right?
Look, I think that Donald Trump is a once-in-a-generational figure, whether you hate him, whether you love him. He's just that guy, whether he was 70s Donald Trump to your grandmother, whether he was 90s Donald Trump to your grandchild. He just has that kind of staying power. I think when you look realistically about what's happening with the Democrats, Kamala Harris as a front runner is a creation of the media, right? I always tell you that anybody who watched the debates, I actually went back and watched the debates because I'm a nerd and I have no life.
Well, Kat already said Pokemon on the show, so I think Kat's the one with no.
You're doubling down.
I'm doubling down, but I'm saying, look, here's the truth. Nobody who watched that debate in real time was like, my goodness, this woman literally took Joe Biden in the back and beat him to death with a 2x4. That's not what happened. But the truth is that the donors that she needs to advance are in his pocket. The money, the actual voters that she needs to advance.
She's no slouch on the money raising.
Well, I would say, look, she's not raising the money that Buttigieg is raising. She's not raising the money that
Warren is raising.
Donald Trump wasn't raising the money that Jeb Bush was raising.
Right, exactly. Remember Jeb Bush?
Yeah.
Forgot about him almost for a second.
I hear he loves Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think?
Who doesn't?
I don't. I've actually never played Pokemon. What do I think? We spoke right after the debates. I was one of the Democrats who thought Kamala Harris went really too far. I thought that raising the issue about, coddling segregationists is one thing, but going for the busing attack line with the pre-planned social media ready to go seemed disingenuous and calculated. Obviously, that was planned. It worked for about 10 minutes, and you're completely correct about the media creation. The candidate who has had momentum in this race for the last 2 months is Elizabeth Warren. She took herself out of single digits, now firmly in double digits. She is in first or second place in Iowa. She's up there in New Hampshire.
And she leads the real progressives, right?
Definitely. But what's really interesting, Morning Consult released a poll that I found stunning, actually, about whose voters go to which candidate for their second choice. And Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren are sharing voters, and they're sharing voters of at least college educated and above, women and white liberals. Joe Biden really has the African-American vote locked down. There was a new South Carolina poll from this weekend. He is only getting stronger with that base. I imagine that what happened in that debate, for those who did watch it.
But wouldn't Kamala Harris get a lot of those?
Well, that's what she's trying for, but it turns out that she's appealing more to women like me than the voters that she's actually trying to target.
Yeah, realistically, if you look at it, you have somebody like Bernie Sanders, who is his Achilles heel in politics, is that he can't find a single black person to vote for him. And the reality is, I mean, look, the hard truth is that you have somebody like Kamala Harris, who realistically is the only minority who's polling in the top 5, and she's trailing him with African American support in South Carolina. So that's
trailing who? Biden?
Trailing Bernie Sanders. Right. So I think if you look at it realistically at that poll, you say, look, what is actually happening right now? Like, this person who everyone is trying to trot out there like the front runner, who people pretend that, oh, President Trump doesn't want to talk about it because she's some type of sacred individual. Well, no, the hard truth is that she is not one of the front runners in the truest sense of the
form.
No,
he clearly thinks Joe Biden is the guy to watch. So hence the constant Sleepy Joe and all that stuff.
Every time he gets a chance,
you don't register with him unless you're a threat to him.
Yeah,
and that's when the names.
That's when the names start dropping. That's when it's all Sleepy Joe. That's when it's crooked Hillary. He recognizes what most Republicans talk about in quiet rooms in the dark when no one's watching, is that, hey, guess what? This is a guy who can win Pennsylvania. This is a guy who can win Wisconsin.
Well, look at that Ohio poll this week. He's the only Democrat beating him, and he's beating him by 8 points.
And leading in South Carolina.
It is super, super early, obviously.
Exactly.
But the fundamentals are there when you're talking about moderates and you're talking about independents. These are voters who are going to be turned off by a hyper-liberal platform.
Will they be turned off by impeachment talk? What do you think?
I think so. I think that people want to know more about how this candidate is going to improve their life. and it doesn't matter so much, this impeachment. I mean, people are sick of it. I really think that they are. I think they need to focus.
But this Seth Moulton, who's here, that kind of was not part of this debate, double stage this week, was saying people came into the Watergate hearings that started in the summer of '73 also not convinced that they were going to go anywhere and that they were a waste of time, and that changes the hearings ensued. I know it's a little different, but you don't think it will register.
I really don't think that it will, and polls show that the majority don't want impeachment. And I also think it would be just such a distraction, and it could actually make President Trump more likable, because he'd be going on and on about witch hunt and this and that. They're bullying me, they're harassing me. Presidential harassment, I believe, is a phrase that he's invented.
Yeah.
Only in all caps. Yes, it's spelled in all caps. And I think that he will say, hey, listen, we're talking about the economy. Look at how the economy is doing. Democrats would be better to focus on something like health care, for example, which Republicans obviously had the chance to take care of and bungled terribly.
Totally. There is the argument to be made that this is their constitutional duty to perform oversight. And in Jerry Nadler's press conference yesterday, he played a little bit of a sly game. He basically said, we've opened an impeachment hearing, but we're not calling it that. And we're going to continue going about our business.
You can't have it both ways. People are
but
pretty
you
smart.
can.
No,
really? They are?
Realistically?
I mean, come on.
Here's the hard truth. Democrats.
By the way, you open formal impeachment hearings, you can get a lot of the stuff you want, Congress.
Yeah, but look at the amount of time that we have. We have an immovable Senate. There is no way that Lindsey Graham is going to hear anything in an impeachment inquiry.
So this is all a waste of time.
Yes.
No, look, I think Democrats wanted to have story time with Bob Mueller. That's what they wanted. They wanted this prime time event that was somehow going to
And it
shock
didn't
the
live up
conscience
to
of America.
fruition.
It didn't have it. They were going to cede all their time to LeVar Burton. We were going to have Reading Rainbow on C-SPAN, and it didn't happen. Bob Mueller basically said, I'm not going to read from the report the way you want me to read from the report. And guess what?
Well, he raised questions as to whether he read the report.
Yeah.
Turns out. And so that's the hard truth that we're dealing with right now, is the fact that this was this kind of Hail Mary, this white knight that America
You don't
had
think
been
it's going
waiting
anywhere?
for.
Done.
And now, look, here's the thing.
The Senate will never vote for it. So why spend time on
Joe
it?
Biden's really leading the front runners. Only 37% of registered Democrats want impeachment. Those are the people who are supporting Joe Biden. I don't think that's a coincidence. That the fact that I think that when you're talking about AOC and when you're talking about the squad, they are very much trying to lead to the future of the Democratic Party.
But they're also like to keep pushing this because the alternative is talking about an economy that's doing really great, right?
I'm not sure. They could spend, as Kat points out, we could spend a whole lot of time talking about health care. I mean, Democrats are leading. Our margins are huge on who's best to handle health care and also race relations in this country, where the president is shooting himself in the foot continuously. He did it again this morning.
But that's not what I asked you. The economy and all that backdrop, they don't talk much about that.
Well, they do. They talk about an unequal system. They talk about favoring the rich.
Every
who the
party
tax cuts
out of power
went
talks
to.
about an unequal, if the recovery is
Right,
strong.
but I'm just
and all
saying that is the conversation that Democrats are having.
But it's
saying
not
we can
working in
You
that.
go Elizabeth Warren's route and say there's going to be something really bad happening really soon.
But you
try to
she
scare
did-
people, try to
she
use
predicted
fear.
the first crash
Right.
accurately. She does know what she's talking about, and people
Fine,
are
but
connecting with her.
by previewing the next one coming to scare the hell out of the American people.
I mean, Donald Trump said we're having an invasion, right? All the caravans invasion coming. I'm going to ban Muslims. I mean, he fear-mongered his way to the
You
White
don't
House.
think that's a little fear-mongering?
What I just did?
No, what? No, that's common. But I mean, I'm talking about Elizabeth Warren.
No, I think that she is giving her honest analysis of what's going on there. And I'm sure that Donald Trump does believe that, you know, there are millions of people waiting to come and kill us and all of that. But
here's the truth. There were 6 million people who had no jobs when Donald Trump took office that have jobs now, that are able to put food on their table. What Kamala Harris wants to talk about, we're not talking about a food fight. We're talking about putting food on the table. There are 6 million Americans, families.
Well, then Donald Trump should be running away with this thing, and he's not.
But he's not.
Because he shoots, as Jessica said, he shoots himself in the foot
Right.
constantly.
He
He just loves fighting more than he loves anything else.
look,
He really likes to be in these contentions with other people.
The hard truth is that Democrats say any Democrat can beat them. For the Democrats out there, I tell people all the time, look, if you want to go out there and say that you can trot any Democrat that you want, and people are just going to vote for them, I know quite well there are Republicans who will take it for their grave that they voted for Hillary Clinton, who will be first in line at the polls to vote for Donald Trump. If you trot out somebody like Bernie Sanders, if you trot out somebody like Elizabeth Warren, because the America that they are selling is an America that is unrecognizable. That's just the hard truth.
All right, no Pokemon references there. Guys,
Kat's the only one who knows
All
about
right,
Pokemon.
exactly. This Pokemon, the phenomenon. All right.